My sisters would tell you that I was my mom's favorite. I have no comment on that. But I will tell you that my mother had enough love in her heart to ensure that everyone in her life knew they were loved. I'll admit that my relationship with my mother was special. She had 4 kids, but I was her only son, and she was my only mom. We lived in a tough inner city neighborhood in Philadelphia, and when you are surrounded by so much pain and heartache, so much hardness, you need to find some softness, some warmth at home. But when your house is headed by a man like my father, who could be as hard as the streets sometimes, you need to find something somewhere, some escape from the harshness of life. My mother had two: old movies and gospel music. My mother would watch old movies on her 12-inch black and white television in the living room, and I would be right there with her. My sisters would watch some. We all enjoyed holiday classics like It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street, but most old movies would chase them off to their own corners of our small Philadelphia row house. Me, I would sit with Mommy on our old torn-up sofa and watch every one. It was on that old sofa and that old black and white TV that I first saw the film Death Takes a Holiday. I didn't care that the movies were old. Our television didn't have color, so I didn't know the difference, not at first. Of course, after a while, you recognize the signs, because they talk different in the old flicks, you know? And I ain't just whistling Dixie, kid. Gospel music was her other escape. She played it all the time, and when things were toughest, she would put on the music, close her eyes, lift her head toward the heavens, and sing and dance to the spiritual rhythms that seemed to transport her to a happier place. She would sometimes tell us why certain songs meant so much to her, and one song stood out above all others. It was called Child of Love by a gospel duo named Cannad and Majors. She said the song was on a self-titled album that debuted in 1974, the year I was born. My mother would sing bits and pieces as she yearned to hear the album that she credits with helping her through the most important transition in her life. But she couldn't because the album was long gone. The song meant so much to her that all of her children tried at one time or another to find it. Every time I passed a record store, I would stop to ask if anyone knew how I might find that album. I rarely got as much as a clue, and the tips I did get all led to dead ends. When the internet became more accessible and interest groups started popping up, I went to every music club, every gospel news group, every site related to the 1970s looking and inquiring, only to find that not many people had even heard of this album. I was beginning to think that my mother had some of the information wrong. Maybe the title wasn't exactly what she remembered, or the group's name was not quite right. Until, while doing my weekly checks across as much of the World Wide Web as I could stand, I ran into a website by a couple who collected old albums and sold them. A quick search immediately turned up an old vinyl album from 1974, self-entitled Cannad and Majors, the first song being Child of Love, just like my mother remembered. I couldn't believe it. After searching for more than a decade, I was convinced that the album had been wiped from the face of the earth. It had become this thing of legend. And here I could call this number on the screen and buy it for $12.99. I called the number, I ordered it, it arrived in perfect condition. It couldn't have looked any better in 1974. Then I found a place that transferred vinyl to compact disc. I didn't feel comfortable handing this album to anyone else before giving it to my mother, but I had to make a backup that would last. So once I had it all together, I wanted to fly to Philly to hand it to her myself, but I couldn't. So I sent it by insured mail, which I insured for $1,000. Not because I thought I could ever get that money for a $13 album, but because I wanted the carrier to be sure to take extra care of that package. I told my sisters it was coming so that one of them could be at my mother's house when it arrived. I couldn't sleep the night before. Early the afternoon of the arrival, my youngest sister called. She hasn't stopped playing it, my sister told me. And she hasn't stopped crying. My sister put my mother on the phone. Rashim, she called me through tears. Thank you, son. When my mother was diagnosed with cancer, it broke my heart. The doctor told us that it was an aggressive form of cancer, but at her age, with her already in the middle stages of dementia, she might not be able to survive the treatments. We were told that she wouldn't last a year. So I set up a weekly video conversation with my mother so she could see her grandsons as much as possible, and I began taking regular flights to Philly. I was there every couple of months, every month when I could, and whether I got a hotel or stayed with my sister, it was only a place to sleep. My whole day was spent at the care facility with my mother. That lasted throughout 2017. Then it lasted throughout 2018. Then it lasted throughout 2019. However aggressive this cancer was supposed to be, my mother's will to live was stronger. In 2020, I continued my regular trips to Philly until I couldn't. No one could. The world shut down. We were all in quarantine, wearing masks and hoarding toilet paper, and my mother wasn't allowed visitors. Everything stopped, except the cancer. It grew like never before. My mother looked weaker with every video call until they had to stop. Reports of her health worsened day after day until I got the one I've been dreading. She's in hospice, and she's not eating. I wanted to get to her right away, but I couldn't. The first flight I could book was 4 days away. I told my sister to tell her I was coming, but they told me that she probably wouldn't make it that long. She had stopped drinking too. They were just wetting her lips with water. 2 days before my flight, my sister calls. I have been checking in every day, so I know this call is it. I don't want to answer, but I do. I don't say a word. We're all happy with the eulogy, she informs me. Thanks for doing that. I know it wasn't easy. I was asked to write my mother's eulogy. As the writer in the family, those kind of things fall on me. And she was right, it wasn't easy. I start to ask, so oh yeah, she's still here. I'm sorry, my sister said. I should have started with that. She's still holding on. One day before my flight, my sister tells me that my mother hasn't opened her eyes in over 24 hours. If you don't get here in time, Rashim, please don't feel bad. She might not even realize you're in the room. The day of my flight, I check in with my sister. Mom's still hanging on. I have an evening flight. It's 5.5 hours long, and then there's an hour drive to my mom. No one says it, but we're all thinking how devastating it would be if she couldn't make it that long. The flight lands. I immediately check messages. Nothing. I call. My sister tells me that she was just with Mom. She still hasn't opened her eyes, but she hasn't left us. I jump in my rental car and I call the hotel to let them know I won't be checking in until after midnight. I drive straight to my mother. When I get to the facility, I ask for her room. You're her son, they ask? Yeah. Glad you made it. Her room is right over there. When I step inside, my mother's turned toward the door. I almost break down just seeing her, but I muster everything I have to make my voice as cheerful as possible. Hey, Mom. She opens her eyes. She opens her eyes. Then they close. I don't believe they even focused. I noticed that her hands started shaking. I rush to hold it and tell her she can relax. I pull up a chair and begin to share the main things she wants to hear about, her grandsons. I tell her how they are doing in school, how they are growing, and I share many of the crazy happenings that occur when you have 14 and 10-year-old boys. Then I go to the bathroom, cry my eyes out, compose myself, sit back on the chair with a smile. I talk, then go to the bathroom and cry, and talk, and go to the bathroom and cry, and talk some more. When I think she might have had enough of my talking, I pull out my phone and begin playing gospel music. I start with Child of Love by Casting the Majors. You might be thinking it was nice of me to put her favorite album on my phone, but I didn't. See, by 2020, the entire album could be found on YouTube. I open the YouTube page, start the music, and her eyes open again. This time they focus, I'm sure of it. Then they close. After playing close to 20 songs and reminding my mother of her stories about some of them, I decide I should leave and let her rest. I can feel that she's been using energy to stay present with me. I give her a kiss on the cheek. I love you, Mom. And I go. I arrive at my hotel at 4 a.m., fall to the floor and cry some more, and I stay there. My sister calls me at around 9. She asked if I had slept. I told her no. I'm going to see Mom now, she said. I just wanted to let you know you should rest. Not a chance. I'll hop in the shower. I'll meet you there. My sister was waiting in the parking lot so we could go in together. And when we went inside, my mother was gone. At her funeral, so many people approached me to tell me that they knew my mother would wait to see me. Many of her old friends told me the same thing in their different ways. Your mother wanted to see you before she left. You know Jackie was not going anywhere without seeing her son. And your mother was not leaving this earth, even for God's heaven, before she got to see her Rashim. They weren't wrong, not completely. But they don't know my mother like I know my mother. My mother didn't hang on because she had to see me before she died. My mother hung on because she knew I needed to see her. Mm-hmm. I've said it many times throughout my life. I'm going to say it again now. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for making death take a holiday so that I can say goodbye.